it's Mrs. Sousa. I'm at my house. So today we're going to make some artwork with a focus on some science. So this paver, yes, it's circular. It is, for the most part, symmetrical. That means what happens on one side would appear on the other. This is a representation of a mandala. A mandala is a circular object, perhaps found in nature, that represents personal growth at a time when you might be looking for change. And I figured this would be a really good topic to talk about now that we are having to go through so many changes at Oakview. Here's another example of a mandala my daughter and I made. It's repetitive and is symmetrical from one side to the other. Today, we will be investigating mandalas and using objects found in nature to make our own nature mandala. So first things first, you're going to want to collect weeds. Yes, weeds. You could pick weeds on a nature walk or maybe from your own front yard. You would want to ask an adult to help you identify which are weeds and which aren't. And if they aren't weeds, ask an adult if you could pick a few of those. But again, only if it's from your front yard. Don't enter somebody's yard unless you know them, and if they're expecting you to come into their yard. You probably just want to pick from the sidewalk. And again, only if an adult says that's okay. Personally, I would call up my neighbors and I would say, "Hey, do you mind if my kid goes in your yard and picks your weeds?" I don't know exactly what tree they come from. I just call it the whirlywig tree. So I'm just organizing all the loot that I found on my nature walk. Here's some more whirlywigs. These fell from the tree. Here's the lavender that I picked from my lavender bush. And some dandelions. You might want to consider organizing what you have too, because when you get into creating your mandala from nature, you will want to have kind of an idea of where everything is located. It's kind of like organizing color pencils. You don't want to just grab whatever random color unless you are planning to do something specific with certain colors. If we were to put a circle around this little flower here, even though it has 7 petals, it is a form of a circle as well. What other mandalas am I finding in nature? Here we go. Circular in nature with repetition. It may not be the same from one side to the other, but it starts as a circle. When thinking about a mandala, I started thinking about other circular things that I know of that you might be able to relate to. One of those things is a clock. The face of a clock, in this case, is circular. It has time moves in this direction. But what I noticed about the face of a clock is that it has 12 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the neat thing about a clock is that it is symmetrical. That means whatever happens on one side of the clock happens on the other. So if I fold this in half, you will see what I'm talking about. So let's take a look. If I line it up so that I'm going to fold this little piece of paper on the 12 and the 6, which are the 2 numbers, one is at the top, one is at the bottom. I will now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little segments or little pieces on one side, and I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little pieces on the other. Now if I go ahead and I fold it in half the other direction so that I'm lining up my paper on the 9 and the 3, I will find not only do I have it in quarters now, but I have four sections that are symmetrical. And then if I wanted to fold this again, I could. 3 and 2. A lot of symmetrical areas here on this on this clock. I'm going to focus on my clock for just a moment, and I'm going to think about the center of my clock as being the focus, the focal point. I'm going to keep that right over here, and I'm going to create a circular mandala right over here. All right, that focal point. Let's see. I'm looking at my stash. Let's see if I put that in the center. Then I'm going to start building things off from it. I want to think about my clock and how if something happens over here, something will have to happen below it. Let's see if I can pull. There we go. So now I'm going to take maybe some of my lavender. And I'm going to take some lavender over here. So I'm going to continue using this lavender because I'm liking the way that this looks. Put some there. So if I were to draw a circle around here, so far I've got a very symmetrical piece of work. I'm going to go ahead and take some more of these little, this weed that I found with these fun little pieces of leaves or something. All right, so there we go. So far, here's my mandala. It's taking its shape. As I could see that if I were to draw a circle all the way around it, this would be pretty symmetrical. I'm gonna keep going. Let's see. Oh yes, I have these pretty leaves. Maybe I could pluck some off. Where do I want to put them? Maybe there. The great thing about this is you can pick them up and rearrange them and change it if you're not happy with it. Of course, in nature, no two things are alike. We kind of know that from a snowflake. No two snowflakes are alike. But I'm going to try my best just to build with the objects that I have. And even though they're not quite the same, it's still pretty. Try to split that there. Ooh, that's fun. Let's see if I can find another one. There's no planning here. It's just using what you have. See, here I am next to all of my organized pieces, carefully moving things around. There we go. Let's take another whirlywig. How's that look so far? So I got my focal point, and I have leaves, and I have my lavender, and it repeats from one side to the other. So let's take a look at this. If I were to take a picture right now and split this in half, what I have on one side will repeat what I have on the other. Where do I want to put this? That's pretty. I like symmetry. Symmetry keeps things in order, keeps things balanced. Personally, I'm a big fan of symmetry. Keeping things balanced in nature, keeping things balanced in your own lives helps to create order and calm, especially in times when we are uncertain how things are going. I'm feeling like I need something here, but I want to be able to see those pretty little petals. Maybe I think I want them all to face out. The stem to face out. We're looking at details as we go. We're just creating a circular shape of a mandala. What happens on one side happens on the other. I have these pretty little blue flowers. Looking pretty cool. Just keep moving things. You keep putting them into play and you just see what works. And if it doesn't work, you take it off. There's no eraser, just your imagination. But I want to revisit these because what's funny is that one flower had 7 and this one has 6. It's kind of interesting. Ooh, does this have 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. So the rest of them have 8, which is phenomenal. This is a nice little symmetrical mandala found in nature. Where am I going to put you? You are just gorgeous. Let's see. And it's okay if they look different because no two objects are going to look the same. So now that I'm happy with what I have, I'd be sure to take lots of pictures because nothing is permanent. That's right. One gust of wind and this would go sailing. This isn't a permanent project. This is for internal reflection. This is a time when we're looking at balance and feeling the balance in our own lives. We are not worried about it being permanent. It's kind of like the Legos in Miss Sousa's STEAM lab. What you build isn't permanent. And so now I change the course of the artwork. I gently scoop these things away. And I'm going to let my daughter Kaylee make one of her own now. Thanks for joining me today, making nature mandalas. Mandalas made out of nature. Now that you've taken all these nice pictures, why don't you show me what you've done on our OV Creative Space Flipgrid? Join me 2 times a week. New projects posting on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you can visit me anytime. Look forward to seeing you soon.